Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. Answer the Call is a podcast where we talk about things in Star Citizen and usually open up the calls to you. But today I have a guest, and of course they're Australian, so we are starting early, which is a little crazy. And for some reason, what's going on here? I'm a little bit of a mess on this. Boom, there we go. That's fixed. So
Starting
he's
to
Australian.
realize Croncy carries this show.
Yeah. So we got Virgil on from Shadow Moses, and we're gonna talk of the state of PvP with in Star Citizen, basically in 4.0, right? So a lot of things have changed in 4.0, and I think that we did this before with you and Avenger. I think it was more like kind of the state of master modes at that time, and I'm sure we'll get
Yeah.
into that. Why I don't think we could have Avenger here and you at the same time, because that's part of the state of PvP. I think is people are starting to fight with each other and things like that, and we'll get into that and have some fun. So things that we'll talk about today. That I mean, you've definitely heard conversations about this before, contested zones, but we haven't really talked about it since they went live, and now they matter. And a little thing that maybe me and Virgil have made a deal on, and what else? And yeah, he made a PvP ship tier list, and unfortunately the number one slot is still the same ship, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So those are the three things I want to hit, and then we'll just kind of let the conversation go and see where it takes us. Besides that, and we'll probably go for about an hour, hour and a half at the most, and we're only going to take a couple callers today. So if you are interested, we have one in the queue now. We might take one or two more, so jump in there. But if you are watching on YouTube or you are watching on Twitch, I do apologize for us doing this a little bit early, but I can't help it. I just am weirdly drawn to Australians, I think. So Virgil, how you doing, man? How's everything?
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
So good. So
yeah.
good. Yeah.
So 4.0 comes out, and it's like when we played Throne and Liberty. It was like the day one of an MMO. It felt like a little bit, not quite,
Dude,
but
it's
damn
so good.
close.
Like
Damn
I've
close.
never I safe to say it's, and I'm sure this is the case for you, but I haven't played this much SC in years. Like
I haven't played
I'm
this much
mind you,
all year, that's for sure.
yeah. I'm on holidays, so like I'm playing an abnormal amount because of that, but I'm probably doing 8 hours a day, like which is a lot for me.
Yeah.
And mind you, again, I'm on holidays and stuff, but yeah, man, like playing purely on fun, it hasn't died out yet. Like I'm having, yeah, like a lot of fun every day. It's just crazy. Like who would have thought we'd be here? Who would have thought server meshing wasn't a scam? Like, and actually going to work like it does. Who would have thought there'd be 30 tick rate servers?
Y-
Like,
yeah, like even a couple months ago, who would have thought we would have
oh,
like if anything
two
for
weeks ago on the PTU, two
yeah.
weeks ago on the PTU, it was falling apart.
Yep. I mean,
And then they
I still
just,
occasionally
something
have that,
snapped.
but it's like the exception now rather than the rule as far as the server tick rate goes. Obviously, they're
Yeah.
like you've experienced them, I've experienced them. Little issues, I'm more than little, with
Yeah.
delays
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
screens not working and the keys not working and things like that, which all
Mhm.
feel um broken from the server, right? It just feels server
Yeah.
related. Uh,
Yeah.
I see this in Twitch chat, and I think this is a really good point. I think them soft launching was a way better decision than I thought it was going to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
I think like
it
the
allowed it to
concern
not be too
was
bad.
they were going to market it as like, we are over this bridge now, everyone come check out our game.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was making everybody nervous, right?
Yep.
Like, and myself too, like I don't want Shroud to come back and just crash on the
Stay away,
last 10
Summit.
years of our lives. Yeah, like it's depressing, but no, yeah, like I'm for it. Yeah, I think they did the right move. I'm glad. Like, how miserable would we be like if we weren't playing this over the holidays? Like still.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Because
I'm
I
yeah,
didn't
I'm
really have a lot
happy.
of games I was like super hyped for. I mean, I don't think anybody, unless you're following it closely, knew that Tarkov was wiping, right? There is a big
Yeah.
um like crossover between Tarkov and Star Citizen. Lots of big Tarkov streamers love Star Citizen, and lots of just
I
Tarkov
love that, by the
players love
way.
it. Yeah, it's so cool.
Like, I love seeing those guys that I usually watch in my spare time coming and playing like our game. It's so cool.
You know, it's that
Like,
way in
and
Eve as well.
yeah,
It,
yeah, yeah. When
even
they come over here,
dude,
yeah,
it's even crazier than that. If some like occasionally, it's rare, but if I'm in local chat in Eve, somebody will be like, "SaltEMike from Star Citizen" in local chat.
yeah,
So that
yeah,
to
yeah,
me,
yeah.
this isn't like a stroke your ego thing. It's to me that means that people who are interested in a game like that are interested in a game like Star Citizen, right?
Yeah,
So I think it's kind of
yeah,
a big deal.
yep.
Oh, Croncy's in
And
chat. Hello, Croncy.
it's been and it's been increasingly becoming more of a game for players that would enjoy a game like Eve, right? Like
Yes.
these two games are starting to get closer and closer together,
Yeah, I mean,
which is crazy.
do you want to touch on that a little bit for a little while at least? Is it's
Yeah.
been my common theme over the last couple weeks is when you say it's becoming more of a game for people who like to play Eve, it's also becoming less of a game for the people who have had the loudest voices and have enjoyed the game the most over the last little while,
I
or
think
at least they seem to think they do. And I don't think they're really enjoying the game. I think they're enjoying the forums and Reddit and the community aspects of the game. And then Pyro comes
yeah.
in and it's like a big shakeup for them.
Yeah, and like I get what they're saying, and do you know what's crazy is when you and me were doing hypotheticals on
Hmm.
ATC, like,
Two
and by
years,
that I
three
mean
years
me
ago.
calling in. Yeah, we would always talk about like how is this going to work for both sides of the coin? Like, how are the
Hmm.
PVE guys going to be happy, and how are the PvP guys going to be happy? And it's, like, it's crazy. I say this all the time, and like on videos and in Discord and all this stuff. It's like with CitizenCon, like right before it, I made a mental note, like a mental Christmas list of everything I want for Christmas. And I would have put it, I think you've heard me say this, right? I think I've said this to you like 5 times already
Yeah.
off stream. But it's like I put like 30 things on there, and for some reason, Rich went on stage and gave me all 30. Like
Yeah.
even the ridiculous stuff that I didn't even think I deserved. Like it's become the dream game. And the thing is, I like I'm I feel, I get why the PvE players are bummed out, and I think that they need to realize or take, I don't want to like be that PvP guy that's just, you know, memeing on the guys that want a PvE only. But I think they need to like, you know, look at what came out in CitizenCon. They announced instant dungeons,
Yep.
right? Like instanced content.
Yep.
Um,
Like Siege of
and
Orson, 100% going to be instanced now.
yeah, and this like base at raiding, base attacking stuff is happening in Pyro. It's not happening in Stanton.
Yeah.
Like in Stanton, it's everyone gets the shields, right? Like on their bases and stuff,
Hmm.
assuming it goes in there. And that's using what Todd Pappy announced with base raiding.
Yep.
Also, the base building is that in the safest systems, you're protected by the shields, period.
And you're
So
paying a
like,
tax, and that's it, right?
yeah.
You
And
don't
so
have to
like
go through the gameplay loop that a PvPer would have to in Pyro. And what
yeah,
happens?
exactly.
Like I was literally just thinking about this yesterday. Is like what would our org look like in Pyro, and how would it work, and how would an alliance even work if like we were heavily doing crafting stuff, but we were allied with like other PvP orgs or something like that, and
Hmm.
it doesn't, right? Like, because the idea in Pyro is you're probably not always going to be in control of the shields. So
Hmm.
what happens when those shields come down and you invested so much money into like a high-end crafting base or whatever base in Pyro? It's just going to get raided and destroyed. So what, like, you can't, it's like more nomad-y there, and it's
Hmm.
people that want that, like, I want to build my home. Like you're going to get that in a place like Stanton, right? But you're not going to get that in a place like Pyro. It's going to be more like Oregon Trail or whatever, where you're constantly like moving around, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, but like
Nomadic.
Pyro, yeah, Pyro's where the PvPers are gonna thrive and stuff, but you're gonna get that same content in Stanton without the PvP aspects
Yeah,
of getting your base rated while you're asleep and stuff like that. You still have plenty of content. And the thing is too is we used to like people used to complain about, oh, like I'm doing a bunker mission and then players came down and killed me. Well, now like they've been thrown a bone by CIG and are in the contested zones. So
yep,
I've got to imagine that people that are going out and doing bunker PvE missions are running into a lot less PvPers now, right? Like
for sure.
surely. I guess server meshing, clouds that a little bit because frequency of players still, but
Yep.
like that, like they're doing the right things. They're moving the PvP players towards PvP content and away from the PvE players. Now everybody's gun shy and like quick to draw in Pyro. I think it's always just going to be that way. um but yeah, like I think, see what happens when Siege of Orison and stuff comes out and Xeno threats out. Are all the PvPers going to be making their way back into Stanton? Like it's
Probably
yet to
not.
be determined.
Right.
Yeah, but like they've now got all this content to chew on. And ultimately I think that's what the PvE players want. I just think that what's probably stirred a lot of this up is that the exec hanger stuff came out,
Yeah.
which is heavily PvP. And I just feel like maybe they think that the content is being developed for PvP players. But if anything, I look at it like they're just trying to like separate us almost. I
Yeah.
think that's a good thing because the
I
PvPs
do.
have had nothing to do. Like
And
so,
not even separate. It's like you know that when you're going into it, like they make it very. It's almost like you signed a waiver going into a contested zone or
yeah,
going to the executive. Like you know that it's going to happen,
yep,
and there's no recourse. Like you don't get to cry about it. Like it's just not allowed because you knew going in that there was a chance you were going to die. And I don't see them crying about dying. I don't see any forum posts. I don't see any Reddit posts about people getting killed, and that's what they're upset about. They seem to be upset about the components, the best components being locked behind contested zones. And that's I wanted to talk. I've been saying it, but I think people need to
I
hear it
heard that.
from an expert, right? From people who are doing the highest level PvE or PvP stuff, excuse me, not PvE. And the idea here is they aren't actually that much better or even the best in some cases um items that you can get. And as far as I'm aware, even if stealth is the meta, which we'll get into, I think, um, you can get B grade components from the shops. So
Yeah, but well, regardless though, Mike, like what good stealth in PvE? you know,
yeah,
in general, right? like the what are the best components in PvP aren't the best components in PvE.
no, even
So
weapon wise, right? Like,
yeah,
what?
like you don't
I don't know if you want to
like
give away
and
like secrets or anything. I don't know what's a secret and what's not.
no, it's
So
fine, it's
I don't
fine.
want to put you in the spot, but what weapons would you use in PvP? Right? I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah,
NDBs
so
is the
you
go
would
to, right?
it's just high speed and reliability.
Yep.
But in PvE, you can just go like all out damage. Because
Which would
like
be
these
attritions or
ships,
the pyro ones that
yeah,
are
it could be
attritions but with more damage.
yeah, could be shotguns, could be anything.
Yeah.
You have fun with it, right? Like I don't think there's difficult enough PvE in the game where if you're not bringing the right weapon, you're paying the price.
Yeah.
Like it's PvP that's like optimized so heavily, but
Yeah.
PvE is more lenient. But like, yeah, it's important to note. And I think I saw a video where people mentioned you can pull these same components out of ships in PvE missions.
Yeah.
Again, people are now starting to pick up that some of the loot rewards that you get in the exec hangars, as far as components, are
Are
on
on
ships.
ships. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and it's the same. It's like the the weapons that we're getting in contested zones turns out they're in Stanton bunkers as well.
Yep.
So it's like,
I found the full tweaker P4AR, and I was like, I don't know if I like this. What do you think about it from that perspective? Like, are you the type that is like my precious, and I think that this should
no,
be only under this thing, or because I think
because
that's
it
what they
doesn't
think
hurt my ego
Yeah,
that like a PVE player has good stuff. Like no, like
exactly.
it's fine. Like
And
it's
it's a
fine.
lot
I
harder to
wouldn't.
get. It's a
Yeah,
lot more containers that you have to open to get that thing, rather
and
than run the risk,
that's
go to the
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, right? A little risk, a lot more risk,
yeah,
better reward. No risk, it's going to take you a while.
yeah. If the balancing is good there, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And that's the way it should be, right? Because you go to contested zones and you can lose 100 to 200k worth of gear like it's nothing.
Yep.
Like the contested zones are unforgiving,
Yeah.
very unforgiving. You might turn a corridor and there's 6 guys. Like I run into that all the time, and
Yeah.
then I've just donated all my gear to them. So it almost makes sense that the frequency of rare loot is higher in there because there is a way higher chance that you're not coming out of that alive,
Yep.
way higher. But you go into a bunker, and what are the odds of you dying? Like extremely low. People have figured out bunkers. It's not difficult.
No.
Not in comparison to fighting players in random orgs and groups or people camping in a corner and stuff like that. It's not the same, right? So, yeah, like I think but no, it doesn't bother me that they have it. It doesn't. Like, I don't think it ever did. Like
No.
it didn't bother me that those upgraded attritions were behind save Stanton PvE missions. Like,
I
and they're so clearly going to get their rewards. Like if they spin up Siege of Orison again, there's clearly going to be good stuff in there. Like
yeah, it's going
it's
to be so
it's
much
very
different.
obvious that that would be. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think people think that that's what PvPers want. I think people think that PvPers want to hoard this stuff for themselves. But that's where I want to go with the next question is how long do you think this is going to last as far as being fun? How many ships have you guys gotten from contested zones? Do you still have a lot more that you want to go? And how long, cuz the big thing about Star Citizen needs to be from this point forward is how long is this patch fun before everybody starts getting annoyed and bored and when's the game going to get good again, right? And
Mhm.
I feel like, but this is still so early, right? But it feels like this one can take us a little bit longer because there's more things to do, there's more area to cover. They have tied at least a decent amount of stuff into, um, like economy wise, and there are some cool things to explore. Where if you get bored doing one thing, you can jump into another. But as far as the PvP side of it goes, do you think this contested zone thing's going to die quick? Do you already see it slowing down? And how you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's bound to slow down. Like, and I don't want it to. Like, but
It's
it's not
designed to.
recyclable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Like
designed to. Sadly, it
you
is,
don't
but it's
lose
not.
these components. So you'd like, yeah, unless we lost components on death and then there was
Yeah.
a constant need for a flow of these components,
Yep.
then it would stay alive. But yeah, the problem is eventually we're all going to get our exec ships. We'll all have
Yep.
unlocked the exec hangars. We'll all have our components, and then we're waiting for the next wipe.
Yeah.
Right? It's like in Tarkov. It's like, at the beginning of a wipe, all the early quest locations are
Our.
super hot the
Yep.
first month, and then everyone's done it, and then it's off to the end game maps, and that's it.
Yep.
Right? So we're in a similar boat, and the only fix to that is an economy which I gotta give them credit for. Like, thank God they are actually making some tough calls. Which, to be fair, they're getting a lot of slack for too. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as the missiles thing came out, and I think they had a legitimate reason to cancel the missile thing, but like that, there were riots in the streets about that. But that was a good move,
Yeah.
right? And I don't blame them for pulling it back. But I thank God that they're doing this. Like I told you yesterday on Discord or whatever. Like I PvP'd yesterday it cost me 300K to repair 3
No, oh my
times.
god, yeah, let's talk about that. Do we
Yeah.
even know what's repairing here in this situation?
No,
Because there's no way
I
it's
don't
your
know.
hull.
This is the 100K bill. I had a Hornet. I'll tell you the story. I had lost a wing. The ships were pretty banged up each time.
There's
I
guns on the
had,
wings, right?
yep,
So
yep, yep, yep.
that's
Size
definitely
fours.
part of it. Okay.
Yep, yep. And I think at one point it took a shield off me too because I couldn't get the shields back. So, like, I probably the shield probably got damaged. I got hit by missiles both times. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
But um, that was it. It was a 100K bill, like flat,
Yeah.
uh, each time. And I don't like. It could have been a bug, or it might not have. I don't know.
I don't think
But
so. I
yeah.
don't
But
think
like, I
so.
was like, damn, dude. Like I can't. Like I even told our guys like, damn, guys, like we can't. Like it's awesome that this is the case too. But it's like, damn, guys, we can't afford to keep losing. Like, we can't afford to get banged up like this. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to start reaching into our pockets and calling up the Logi guys to get money out of the bank for this. Which is like Eve, right? It's like you
Yep.
can't afford to, just keep running it down. Otherwise, you're gonna start getting bankrupt. I think that's awesome, man. I think that's so awesome. I mean, 6 months ago, I think not probably a year ago when I was on ATC last, I was complaining literally that repairing refueling was like 3,000 UEC and none of us cared. None of us even remembered how much it was.
Yep.
Now it's like, damn, dude, I can't afford to repair this ship. Like,
Yeah.
and that's a good feeling, man.
And I'm on the opposite side of it as like a non combat player is
Mhm.
the fuel still isn't costly. So as somebody who's seeing cargo missions paying 50K to go 5 seconds away, and then the fuel costing 35 credits, you're kind of like, what the hell? And then if you travel across the system, the fuel's only costing maybe a few hundred depending on the ship. And I know some ships are very expensive, like an 890 jump or something like that. So fuel
Mhm.
definitely still needs an adjustment there. But if you tie fuel into the the way that Virgil's talking about cost for repair, if you lose a component or something like that, ooh wee, right? It gets pretty crazy. Now, I see somebody in Twitch chat not really understanding what you mean by bankrupt. He was talking about Eve orgs would go bankrupt when they, just throw really big ships at fights over and over again, because that's a real game and it isn't as easy to farm money in a game like Eve for the type of ships that you might be sending in a war or something like that. So obviously
Yeah,
nobody
it's like,
can go
well, like,
bankrupt in Star Citizen. That's not a thing.
no, yeah, well, yeah, like for sure. But I mean, if you're looking at PvPers and then 10 players have repair bills of 100K,
Yeah.
like that means a team fight's costing you 1 million. That's still
Yeah.
a lot of money.
It
Like
is.
that's not cheap.
Yeah.
So like, but yeah, like we're not going bankrupt. We've got a lot, but yeah.
Yeah.
Point being though, this is in comparison to what we had before. And you got to realize too is like PvPers don't grind money. Like they do it when there's nothing in the account. That is when they'll start doing the PvE, but
Yeah.
they don't outside of that.
But
But
that's what I want to go into next is a little bit of the org stuff. And feel free to speak freely. I know I've kind of have shied away from conflict on the podcast before, but I sort of look at it this way is if you say something negatively about another org, they're always going to have the ability to come on here and speak for themselves as well. Maybe not
mhm.
today, for example, but on their own. If they want to come on, they can. Outside of a few exceptions, I think we had one person that was like a total idiot and won't ever be allowed on the show again from like years ago. But the outside of that, it's open, right? So
He apologized to me for that like the other day, by the way. But keep going, sorry.
I don't know if we're talking
Yeah.
about the same person, but maybe we'll
No, I
talk
think
about it
we
off
are.
stream.
Okay, no worries, no
So
worries.
if he apologized to you, that changes things about if he could come
Yeah,
on
yeah,
or
he was
not.
really cool about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Like keep going.
So the what I want to ask is twofold. You mentioned Logi. That never was a thing. And for people who don't know what that is, logistics and Virgil, I'll let you decide what that means for your org or talk about what that means for your org. that was never a thing that anybody wanted to do. And then what's the state of the other PvP orgs in the game and just general PvP since 4.0 is gone for you? Where is it? What does it look like? How is it different from the 3 dots that we've had over all these years? And why is it better? Why might it be worse in some cases? And yeah, that's like this is the big meat of the show, I think, would be what I would consider.
It's funny. I think you'll be surprised with this answer. I think it was way better in the last patch. Like,
okay,
not having the bounty and lore system has made finding PvP like so hard. Like,
yeah, unless you're ship PvP in particular, right? Because you can find it in the contested zone.
Yeah, and thank God for contested zones, because I'm so wrapped up in that to not notice how much of an issue it is trying to find like groups of players that I want to like PvP against, right? Like, it's not hard to find players. I don't get it twisted. You can go to any outpost and find a random guy and stuff, but doesn't really feel like PvP anyway. That they 9 out of 10 times they're not interested in fighting back and stuff like that, right? So it's just not the type of PvP I'm looking for. But for like orgs to converge, there's no mechanic to find each other, right? Like, there's no bounty, because usually the method is in 324 and anything before that, it's like you look at the bounty board, okay, this guy belongs to this group. You look at the Moby Glass, okay, there's 10 guys I recognize from that group. That guy's going to be with that group of 10. Yeah. And that was the way orgs would connect and start the fight. That's gone like completely with Pyro.
Yeah.
And there's no hill yet. Like, I know there's a bit of like a shepherd's, what's it called? Shepherd's something. Like, that's starting to become a little bit of a hot spot. But
Shepherd's Rest, and there's places.
Yeah.
But those are more like piracy PvP. But I'm assuming you would be going there to just find a fight and hope it.
Yeah, because a lot of the people that are going there, at least from the other PvP orgs, are only going there because players are there. Yeah. So they're not even interested in PvP. They're just interested in spaceships belonging to players. So that's like a little bit of a hot spot. But we haven't had like a fight upwards of 5 players at all in Pyro yet. It's not been
outside of CZs, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, CZs like all the time. Yeah. But as far as like spaceship goes, yeah, not once. Like, and it's not for a lack of looking. Like, it's like we've busted up a couple like gate camps and stuff just because we managed. People were talking about them being at the gate and stuff like that. But yeah, it's extremely difficult to find it. And I kind of find myself missing the bounty system, and just hope that there's some sort of mechanic that does that. Yeah. Otherwise, we need the bases down, because nothing is, hurdling the or hurting the PvPers together, really. And it's such a big open space. Between the 3 stations, none of the stations are, better than the other. So there's just like no hotspot. So I'd say the big org PvP, which was really flourishing before Pyro's, really like hurting outside of contested zones.
Interesting. At the
moment. Yeah.
I think that's interesting, and I think people should really take that in. There might still be the occasional, like, I don't know, I would consider them a jerk, or even a griefer to some extent, is like the guy who's like shooting you as soon as you're leaving the hangar at a Pyro station. But the idea here is Pyro is so big, if you don't want to be found, you're most likely going to be able to kind of do your thing, especially if you're like miner salvaging, things like that. You're going to be able to do it. I've not seen a single gate camp in Pyro outside of the PTU, where I think people were just trying to see what they could do and what they couldn't do. Like, I actually got hit with a torpedo in the actual jump point. It came through and got me as I was going through it. But the outside of that, I don't think there's been too much, and I haven't seen I've spent a lot of time in Pyro and I've spent a lot of time in Stanton, and they both feel pretty much the same. The worst PvP I had was yesterday or 2 days ago, where I did not listen to my economy discussion video that I made on the React channel, where I went to an outpost and brought 138 SCU of RMC at a place that was accepting 12 like every hour, but they had the best price in Stanton, and I sat there on the panel trying to sell it 12 at a time forever, and it was so brutal. And some guy came up and said, well, I want to sell now. And I was like, no, I've been here, you gotta wait. And he just started like trying to knock me off the panel, and then he gave up and left. And then somebody was there with me, he killed that guy, and then that turned into an entire like 8v1 PvP fight in the sky, and it was like super epic. So like you can get this stuff, but it is few and far between still. Yeah, it was Tumblr
Yeah, it's
Arena.
just like
It was awesome.
like smallest, like yeah, you definitely can run into skirmishes and stuff and
Yeah, but you're never
things
gonna
like
get
that.
that org versus org stuff right now
Yeah,
outside. Are you seeing it at the exec hangar? Like, is there PvP in ships outside the exec hangar preventing people from getting there? Or is it
no,
mostly not happening? That's really sad. I thought that
no.
would be a thing.
I think the three stations being separated and then just there being multiple servers, like it's just too hard to lock it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe three exec hangars was a little
Was
too
too
much.
much.
Like maybe two or
Or
one
just one.
would have made, yeah. Because then, gosh, imagine if it was one. If
Yeah.
it was one, like
You
it would be
have to
PvP city there. That
you
would
have to
become the
push.
jump down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you have to fight your way through it. That'd actually be so much fun, to be honest. But yeah, like yeah, I think yeah, not so much. And that's the thing too is like, and people gotta understand, right? Like there's PvP skirmishes and stuff, like for sure. Like that happens organically. That's awesome. Love that
Yep.
for the game. But there's also like organizations that have 20 or 30 players in their voice channels every night. Like probably 6 or 7 orgs are this way. We're no different. And none of those orgs are fighting each other or even have a mechanic to find each other. And
What is it because
they used to.
yeah, there's
They're
no mechanic
bounties.
to find each other,
Yeah.
right? It's not
Yeah.
because I
They
always
just
used
don't
to
know what they're
think
doing, right?
I
Like they
always used
might be
to
doing a
go ahead.
CZ, they might be pirating, like they might be at the gate. Like they could be doing 100 different things in
There's
Pyro. You just
there's
don't
too many
know.
things to do. Yeah, I always
Yeah.
used to think that, and I think this was just like streamer brain, that the the general chat and knowing who was in a server was a bad thing.
Mhm.
And the more I think about it, the more I think it's a good thing, right? The more that I've played Eve, the more I realize it's like, all right, I entered this area. There are dangerous people here. I need to be careful. Or I need to leave now. Or I need to go back. Or I need to, oh, we have a fight. I can fight them, right? And the more I think it creates content, then uh, creates stream sniping, I guess. Like, who cares about stream sniping is the more, like, more what I've gone down. It's got to be content for the players, and even though there's more Star Citizen streamers than ever and all these things, it is such a small section of the community. It just doesn't matter, and I want the game to create the conflict. And I think you're right. It's probably
Yeah.
going to be base building, but I think it's also little mechanics like the knowing who's in your server, right? So we know how many are in our server, but we don't know who's in it. So once you start knowing like what your server entails, so are you in the space server? Are you at the Bloom server? Are you at the Terminus server? Are you at the, I don't know, Yella or something like that? And you kind of know who's there, then you know as maybe a miner that somebody's coming, right? So you like
Mhm.
the whole
It's like it works like that in Eve, right? Like people like you
exactly.
see the local list and you're like, ugh.
Ex-
But the question, and do you know what's funny is
it's the advanced warning, but it's also the advanced warning to search, right? It goes
yeah,
both ways.
yeah, it goes exactly, yeah, two sides to it. Like you need it to hunt and you need it to escape, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
for sure, for sure. And I remember I remember there was a lot of drama in Eve when they disabled it as like an event thing, and everybody went like bonkers, thinking it was the worst thing they ever did.
It's disabled
I
in
forgot what it
wormhole
was
space,
called.
I
It was
think.
called blackouts or something. It was like a big thing.
Yeah.
If anyone in the chat knows what I'm talking about, but
Yeah, somebody does. I'm not
yeah, that could
familiar
have
with
been
it.
it. Yeah.
But
Yeah, and like they did that, and it like messed up the economy, and a bunch of people like lost their stuff, and
yeah,
no one was willing to undock because they
it was too
didn't have
risky.
intel. Like it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it messed things up so bad. Apparently,
Yeah.
it's funny because the first thing I do is I go into a server, and it's like we go like, okay, like let's go through the ABC because this list is either gonna is bugged and then goes down to the letter C, and
Yeah,
then you're
true.
looking for anyone from an org that you might recognize with the name A to C. So like. So we've got like it's like Burks. You think Burks is running around with the name Burks? No, it's his name.
It's
His
Z.
account starts with a Z. It's like Zap
Yeah.
something, dude. He's like hiding at the very bottom of the list, which is actually hilarious.
That's
But
funny. I'm probably
yeah,
okay cause with an S that no one's gonna notice
yeah,
that
yeah. I
I'm
was
there.
about to say,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Unless you're flying your freelancer to the red key card, like,
Dude,
taking a bunch of guys.
dude, I don't know what happened there. Because is it me or do the exec hangers really shoot at you? I thought they didn't. Not the
No,
exec, the supervisor hangers. I didn't know the turrets shoot at you there. They never
yeah,
did,
I've
and they did to me.
they
Yeah, I don't
shoot
know.
at Mike.
They shot at me. I don't know why
Yep.
they were shooting at me, but I took it easy. I was
I
flying in
also
there
don't
like
know
do do
why
do do
there's
do.
moles there. Why was there mole ships?
They're mining, man. Leave them alone.
Like, what are they fighting there? What like,
I
dude, that night was troll. Like we
yeah
were getting trolled.
yeah. That was good times.
But
Me and Virgil tried to do CZs together, and then we said, "This is it must be us coming together that's causing all these stupid issues. So we're never doing it again."
yeah, that was it, dude.
Yeah, but
But
yeah, so you're
yeah,
not.
like
So
I
that's
think
sad, man. You're not seeing the fights that you were hoping to see, and that
yeah,
sucks. And it's not because
and
people are scared. It's not because any of those things. It's because the game isn't supporting it enough. It really
yeah,
bothers me that when somebody is doing the exec hanger, that it isn't like a I don't like a horn doesn't go off, and lets
yeah,
everybody
like
know.
and Stanton had that, right? Remember,
Yeah,
like price
SPK.
commodity alerts, price commodity alerts.
Yeah,
Like that use whatever that is for the hey exec hangers going active, or something like that. Like some sort of warning to the people in Pyro, hey, it's about to kick off there and stuff like
yeah,
that, like to create opportunity. That'd be cool. Yeah, we just need some basic mechanics like that. It doesn't feel like the end of the world. I'm a little disappointed that there hasn't been any big fights, and I know that ain't just us like out there
yeah.
starting. Those fights just aren't happening right now. But
What
yeah,
about the
like it.
Polaris? You've been talking to
Oh,
me
I'm such a fan
occasionally.
of it.
Yeah, yeah. So like PvP in big ships is like kind of here, right? I don't really know.
Yeah,
I haven't done too much of it, but you seem to be very high on this gameplay. So tell me what you think about it.
I just think it's like okay. Number one problem is people are just ramming them. So it's like if you just
Yeah,
bother
yeah,
someone, then as a last ditch effort, they'll ram it. That needs to get fixed. They're gonna fix it apparently. So that's okay. But no, I think it's really good because I'm a big fan of there being multiple ways to PvP and for PvP to be welcoming. And capital ship gameplay is a heavy reason as to why a lot of people bought the game.
yeah,
Like a lot of people
yeah.
bought the game because you can all in your friends operate like a huge ship together. And the Polaris, like the torpedoes are useless. Like you're PvEing with that. Maybe you're doing a little bit of PvP with that, but you're not doing it reliably.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like two Polarises aren't going to head with torpedoes. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Um, so there's that issue, but having players that usually wouldn't PvP outfitting a Polaris and then having the sweatiest PvP groups have to change the entire way they are playing the game to have to now deal with the new players who are in the Polaris
mm-hmm.
is just healthy for the game, right? Like, you know, how annoying has it been that the only good thing for the last 6 years has been like a light fighter meta, right? Like
Yeah.
and this is the first time that's been shaken up. Like if there's five Gladiuses, they're gonna tickle the Polaris. So it's
Do you
just been a really good breath of fresh air. It's been a shake up. A lot of new players have come to play it. It requires different solutions to PvP. You have to go reship. You have to go change your entire approach because you're now dealing with the Polaris. It's broadening PvP in the game and all the ships. Like it's awesome. It's a huge meta shift,
badass?
and yeah, it's just very welcoming.
Do you think the changes to auto turrets has made any difference at all?
Oh, I think the PDCs are the coolest thing ever. For the
Oh,
record, little too strong, but they are so awesome.
yeah.
Like that came out of nowhere. Some guy
Especially with the
apparently
missile
just did
meta,
that in his
right?
spare time.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, and they smoke torpedoes like
Yeah.
reliably,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. But
What I
yeah,
meant actually was the auto aim turret change with like the man turrets.
yeah,
Have you seen
I
that
don't
make any
know.
difference? Because I still don't think turrets fire fast enough or far
Yeah,
enough.
no, like they're not a serious threat. No,
Yeah, that's sad.
like they're not useless. They're probably not as good as they need to be.
Mm,
Um, but I wouldn't say like I'm not saying they're broken. You can absolutely get killed by a Polaris turret for sure, especially the big one.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that can just lights off real quick. But
It'll
it
certainly
like
cost you
obviously
a
needs
hundred
more
k.
work.
It'll knock a wing off.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, dude. No, I got like, it's funny. I remember I got smoked the first time I got smoked, but I'm like, damn, like I must have got rammed or something. They're like, nah, the turret got you. I was like, oh my gosh, okay,
Yeah,
wow.
this is a
But
serious threat.
yeah, but like I think that the cool thing about the Polaris is that it's so tanky too. So it's like it's a big battle.
Takes
It
time.
takes a long time if you're gonna fight it out legitimately. And yeah, it's just a cool. It's just really cool. Like a lot of new people coming to PvP is just always a cool thing.
Yeah.
Not the same toxic loop of just flying gladiuses and stuff like that. So no,
Let's
it's
let's
been really nice.
That's good. That's good. Let's shift back a little bit to components.
Sure, sure.
Why is stealth the meta? And
It's just missiles.
why shouldn't it be? Like in a perfect world, we have civilian, industrial,
Yep.
stealth, and competition stuff. What
Hmm.
what does it look like? What should it have looked like in 4.0 for you if they had all the time in the world and could have made it perfect? What do you think that would have looked like versus what it is now? And what do you like about what you've seen and what don't you like?
Yeah, components like the weapons are pretty whatever. Like
Yeah.
in PvP, you just have to go to like what's going to be the most effective. So it's just always
And
going to be based
still
off.
laser repeaters.
Yeah, you just prioritize speed and then you prioritize damage second to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think where it kind of fell short, but it needed to fall short because missiles are super buggy right now. Like, and for just in case you don't know, if I like lock you with a missile, you get the beep 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 noise, right?
Yep.
But then if I launch the missile, you don't get any missile audio. You'll get the icon showing up that you got a
But
missile
it's
coming
mega
after you,
tiny
which
now.
yeah, exactly. And if you're in the thick of a fight or whatever, you're gonna glance at that with your peripheral if you're lucky,
Yep.
right? So the problem is I could lock you, hold it for 10 seconds, and then let go, right?
Okay.
And then you probably didn't know that this missile's coming for you and it gets you. So that's why stealth's good, is because you fall off radar
Often.
in team fights. Yeah. Um, B, the missiles don't track you nearly as well, and the flares are more effective because you don't have a huge like radiating signature
I
in
think that's been
comparison to if you had a
awesome.
different power plant.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
it's
go ahead.
I think that's so awesome. The idea that our signature matters again, and
Yeah,
in a little bit more of a complex way. What I don't like is I can't see a reason to use anything else. Like I keep looking at like, okay, on my vulture, I'm using stealth components. That's stupid.
yeah,
That
Yeah.
shouldn't be a thing, but it is.
And the problem is like the stealth components, because like ultimately a power plant is good as how much power it gives you. So
Yeah.
like you want a power plant that gives you, that can max your shields, that can max your engines, can max your weapons, if not get close.
Yeah.
But you want to prioritize stealth before that. So I guess the problem is at the moment is that you go stealth component and you can max all those power traits as well anyways.
Yeah.
So technically, if it was good balance, stealth shouldn't be able to power nearly as much as it does. But with that being said, while missiles are bugged, I'm okay with that. Like,
Yeah, yeah, of
because
course.
like, because if you don't have a stealth power plant specifically, like you're dead, Mike. You're dead.
Yeah.
Like missile will hit you every time. You can drop 10 flares, won't matter.
Exactly. So
Which
for the
is
idiots who were fighting over my little RMC fight, that's why you died over and over again to one person. And 8 of you
yeah,
were there and were dying to one person because he was literally just firing a missile at you that you could not avoid. And I was just watching it. I go, oh, he just fired a missile. And then you just watch it. Doesn't matter how many flares they threw, it doesn't matter what they were doing, they died. And they were probably like, this
yeah,
is so unfair. He's cheating or so, like, and it's just like, no, you don't know how the game works anymore because it changed. And
yeah,
the change I would make from a PV, I guess PVE side, or from an industrial side is there's no reason to use industrial components at the moment. And the reason being is if you look at a mining laser, salvage lasers, tractor beams, things like that, it's 1 pip into it. That's it. 1 tick. Where those should be pulling the most amount of power, right? So you should be
mhm,
wanting to use an industrial drive, an industrial this, an industrial that, and be just a beacon of light that is on everyone's radar at all times. But you need to be, and then it starts to balance the I'm able to make money incredibly easy while somebody like you is going 100K for a repair bill is a lot. I'd be like, well, I would just make that in 15 minutes, right? And
yeah. So are you talking
that's the
about
balance.
like you go industrial and you're increasing, like
Your
profit per
signature.
hour,
Yeah.
but risk per hour too, right?
I
Like,
I might even go as
or
far
you
as
go
you cannot
stealth for passive, but
like
slower income.
well, I'm going more I know it's anti Star Citizen here a little bit and what the direction they go with like choice, but
Mhm.
I feel like for ships like the Mole, the Prospector, and the Reclaimer and Vulture, is you shouldn't really have it. Like you should kind of be forced down that path if you're going
Mhm.
to be using your mining laser, your salvage lasers, because
Mhm.
you have to draw people to those components that have negatives to them. You're going to have your
Yeah.
negatives with your PvP kind of meta components, and we're going to have our negatives with our industrial ones. So
Yeah.
I just think like they need to draw you in that direction, and I don't think mining heads use enough power. I don't think salvage heads use enough power, and then you're making choices of lowering your shields, lowering your engines, or things like that, right? So that's kind of where we're still very much in the middle of this rework, and we didn't get engineering right, so we might have seen
Yeah.
a lot more if we did. And I'm that's the kind of direction I'd like to see things go, because the question I keep asking myself is why would I use any of this stuff outside of stealth? It just, if there's a chance that I can hide from somebody, I think that's, even though my cross section is higher on my ship than it might be on, I don't know, a Saber or something like that. It's it's just something that,
It's like you
yeah,
want
I don't know.
choice. You want choice, right?
Yeah.
Like horses for courses. Maybe you're playing really late at night and you want to lay low. So you go stealth components. You're not going to be making huge amounts of profit, but it's likely safer. And then, on
But you
the
don't get the
opposite side of
choice.
that, it's an org event, so everyone's going to go industrial. They're going to turn off their shields, which is extremely risky and really churn out money, but you've got escorts now. Like,
Yeah.
I like the idea of, yeah, like options, with benefits and consequences, just good balancing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that shouldn't, I like the idea of that you know, bleeding into or sorry, also encompassing logistics as well. Like for example, you know, a quantum drive that you can use to, you know, blockade runner um you know, with cargo hauling. But
Yeah.
this thing has a signature that can
That's
be seen from the other side of Pyro or something,
yeah,
right?
and you might
You
get
know,
interdicted more easily if they ever change those
yeah,
mechanics, right? Something like that.
yeah. Like missiles are gonna track you like to no end and like stuff like that. Like you know, good trade off. You know, and the
Yeah.
opposite side of that is you go a stealth component quantum, then you're quantuming across the system really slow. You know,
Yeah.
for example, but you're not nearly as much risk. Yeah, like just good balancing. And I tell you what, like I wouldn't be surprised this year. Um, just based off like the insane amount of changes we've seen in 4.0, I wouldn't be surprised if they start blitzing this stuff, Mike. Like, I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah,
if
I hope so.
these
That's the
stats
goal.
get drastically changed very quickly this year.
And often,
Um,
right? I
yeah,
think they're going to
yeah,
be
and that's what they,
throwing noodles at the wall trying to figure things out. I think that's what we're dealing
yeah,
with right now.
unshackled now, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Yep,
Can
like
I
because now we're across that server meshing threshold. Now it's like actually content making time, and
yeah.
hopefully these guys get free reign now. Go ahead, sorry.
True. I'm going to ask you a question from Twitch chat. This is from Calton P. He said, "Okay, so explain the negatives of stealth for PvP. I'm not sure if I see any, but I could be missing something." You're not, and that's the problem, right? So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would
Same
the
as a
negatives be, but what aren't they,
it's
right?
like
Like,
it's like -1 pip, which is like a tiny fraction of like engine boost and stuff,
yeah,
or whichever you elect. But the consequence is like, you know, 10% less power available to you, but the benefit is you no longer get hit by missiles. So it's bad balancing. And to answer the question, Carlton, is just the the meta's very much in stealth because missiles are terrifying, and going to stealth components isn't costly. It doesn't hurt your performance nearly at all if you
oh,
get the
the
best
scene isn't
components. So
ready. Oh, I messed everything up. But I was gonna bring up Urkel, but I didn't set up the scene for us in another side. But yeah, so for example, an industrial grade C power plant, or let's just go A. Let's just do all grade A's for size one. The
but
max
that's
power
like if you're going
generation
into
is
go ahead, sorry.
17. The max power generation is 17 for like competition and 16 for industrial and 16 for military. But if I go down to civilian or stealth, it's 13 or 14. It's not as drastic of a difference. That so it's just not making a big enough change to matter.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the issue there.
But it's all like placeholder stuff, right? Like they're just like,
Exactly.
oh, like
Just for right
this
now.
is yeah, it's just rough draft stuff. Like I'm sure that that's not the intent.
No.
But if you're playing now and you're in pyro and stuff, just get prioritize buying a stealth power plant. And then next up is like competition shields, and then you're well on your way. That's the combination, right? But if
Yep.
you go in pyro or even at anything really and you're playing with a power plant that isn't stealth and you're struggling with missiles, that's why like the game in PvP goes from unplayable to playable once you migrate to a stealth power plant, so can't recommend that enough. Like it's
Yeah,
night
and
and day difference.
normally I would think you would kind of hold that to your chest and not tell anybody to give yourself an advantage against other people that just don't
Oh, it
know.
doesn't matter,
But
everyone knows really, like yeah.
anyone that matters probably knows. But the other idea here is the people who don't are instantly going to be like just shying away from PvP the moment that the experience is I got hit with a missile, I died instantly, this sucks, I'm not playing anymore.
Yeah, it's
So
horrible. I dropped 20 flares and it did nothing. And that's like
exactly, it makes no
that was
sense. I
me
don't understand.
screaming a month ago about it, and then one of my guys telling me, "Hey, you got the wrong power plant." I went, "What?" And then I changed the power plant, and then all of a sudden flares started to work. So
Yeah.
poor balancing right now.
Yep.
And that paired with a bug, but
Yeah.
yeah, stealth will fix you for sure.
Yeah, but
Um,
stealth doesn't have enough negatives, and that's where we're at right now. Because the negative would be the stealth components have the least amount of health, and you can
Yep.
damage components, but not in the way that we're going to see when we have armor and we have engineering and all these things that they want to
Yep.
do. We will see what happens to stealth components when they bring that in. Like with the
Yep.
economy, like with literally everything, we are in the middle of these massive reworks that they do not finish before releasing the patch. They do them slowly over time, and it's just going to feel like this doesn't make any sense. I don't understand, and it's because it doesn't make any sense, and you're not supposed to understand. Well, or you could, but the understanding is they're not done yet, and that's the issue at the moment, I think.
One thing I really wanted to talk to you about and like gauge you on, because I haven't. How do you feel about the people, or I guess the shift that this is getting closer towards Tarkov?
I think it's good. Like Tarkov is a good video game, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of good things about Tarkov. We had some really cool discussions, and we're going to bring up some of these right now, which I think it's such good ideas. Is I hate so much the economy in this game currently, and even the ideas that they have for the future with and they didn't shy away from it. They mentioned the 90% NPC thing again this week. So that's not they're not shying away from it. It's still going to be a thing. And I hate everything
Mhm.
about it. The the idea that of what Tarkov is to me, I'm not an FPS player. I don't play Tarkov, but I watch a lot of
Mhm.
content for it, and there's things that I really, really like about it. And the things that I
Yep.
really like about it is every time you go into a raid and open a container, every single item is valuable for
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
number of different reasons. So I'll let you, because this was Virgil's and we were having a discussion. He brought this up, so I'm gonna let you kind of take the
No,
reins on this
no, go
idea.
for it. Are you talking about the limited
Barters,
vendors, or are you
limited
the
vendors,
barters?
and
Yeah.
barters. Those two things
Yeah.
that would
Yeah.
change
Go.
Star Citizen forever, and I think in no negative way and only positives,
Yeah.
especially in Pyro. Right?
You know, it's like going into CCs and you loot those ice cream cones. You
Yeah,
trade in 20 ice cream cones, you get a railgun. Like, dude,
yeah.
that's
Think
what
about
we want,
that.
you know?
How
Yeah, you
awesome
get
is
there's
that?
some. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it's like, yeah, it's really interesting because then you get that like LEDX feeling, right? Which is where like you get that 1 in 1,000 loot drop. It's
Yep.
like, call it the Bennu artifact that they've showed us at
Sure.
CitizenCon. You know,
It
oh my god,
trades.
the Bennu artifacts here. You know, in the final exec room, this is like 5 million. You know, like that, those extreme highs and stuff, and then you know, lo- being wanting to loot everything in there, and then you having purpose for it, whether it's like because
But
there's some
not having
random
enough
items in
backspace,
CZs.
but not having enough
Yeah, like
backpack
the
space to do it. So you got to make
yeah,
choices, and then it becomes
yeah, yeah.
a game, right?
And then you're invested in getting it out, so like you manage to get back to your hangar. It's like sigh of relief. You don't
Yep,
get there, or you die to an NPC, so you're desperate to go back to your body because you needed something that was inside your backpack. Like,
yep.
getting emotionally tied to the results of you playing the game is really good. It's like people talk about like Tarkov gets a bad rep because people are just like, I don't want to get owned in PvP all the time. Like,
Or the
Tarkov's
cheater
really good for
thing, or whatever.
difficulty. Yeah,
Like I can
yeah.
already feel the comments about cheaters, and it's like that's
It's
not
the
what we're
same with
talking
like,
about. We're talking about the
yeah,
game's
it's the same with
design.
Eve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. They say
it's like
spreadsheet game,
people.
and it's like
Yeah,
it's so much more than that, and you're just
yeah,
being an idiot. Like just stop.
yeah, yeah. And it's like, you know, the PVE can be, you know, in Tarkov and stuff, all the questing they have, the barter system, the way you can make money on the market, like are all things that would benefit PVE massively. Like, we're talking like sophisticated crafting and like weapon building and ship components that go beyond just 9 slots. We're talking 40 slots. Like, just talking about making the game deeper and more interesting,
Yep.
right? Like, that's what we're talking about when we're like, oh, we like Tarkov. What like, what I like about this patch and its relation to Tarkov is the weapon attachments, there being
Yep.
like rare ones,
Yep.
and
Croncy's bringing
like
that up in the
them not
chat right
afraid.
now.
Love that, man.
uh,
Love that. All I've been doing for the last 2 weeks is grabbing as many of those attachments and hoarding them.
yep.
Like this is it's progression.
Yeah.
Like this is like
And
a
you
month ago
feel
we
it on
just
your
buy
guns,
this.
guys. You feel the
Yeah.
difference. It is meaningful. It is awesome.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking when you've got 6 of those juiced compensators in your backpack and you got killed by a player just before you got out. Like
Yep.
that's an awesome feeling, and it's the same with PvE. You can have that feeling in PvE too, right? Like
Yeah.
you couldn't get out of the final room.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like, I just like the game being sophisticated. And it's like I think the PvE community can really benefit from that too. That doesn't just have to be a PvP thing. Like you guys want that content too. Otherwise, like what PvE content are we looking for? Like Mythic level 10 Siege of Orison? Like
Yeah. And
LFG Siege of Orison? Is that what we want?
I
Like
don't know if
I
that's a
don't think
good
that would
thing.
be it.
Like, here's
Yeah,
even
no,
another
like
thing. This is without a certain attachment. You and I found this playing CZs together one night. This is only and you can see this in Discord on the live stream, I think. If you aren't looking, take a look. This is We're at the entrance to the loot room in Ruin. This is just the torches on your helmet. So if there aren't markers there, you don't
yeah, yeah.
know who to shoot at or where to shoot, right? But
Yeah, yeah, I love
if you
this. I
pair
love
that,
this.
like the standard would be to put a laser under your gun. But now if you
Yep.
have the juiced compensator that lowers your recoil significantly with a gun like I'm using here, or I think this was somebody else, yeah, because I'm actually on the screen on the right. If you're using the juice compensator on the FS9, it's already low recoil. So you can consider running with your helmet torch on plus the torch on your gun, and it is blinding. So like
I love that. That's so
yeah,
cool.
and it really matters because if they can see
Yep.
your head and you don't have the best, if they can't see your head, let's say, and you could see theirs, you have a significant advantage even if your aim isn't as good. They're blindly firing, you're not. So like these things are starting to matter here when there's things at stake. You would never use this combination until today. And then look at an entire org standing there. You go in there and you're just blinded, and you don't know who. You're not even going to get anybody, I don't think. Maybe one guy.
Just depth. Like depth to the game. More stuff. Like it's just it's so cool. Like I'm actually a huge fan of this. Like I try to double stack the lights lately as well.
Yeah.
And
where normally you would go
it's like
laser because it reduces recoil.
Like in Tarkov where those guys, like I'm sure you've seen a YouTube short of someone that's put like 6 flashlights on.
Yeah, and they are the sun.
Yeah, it's just like you turn a corner and then it's just like you're flashbanged. Yeah. So like, no, man, it's really cool. Like I'm super happy with what they're doing with FPS. If anything, I want them to go deeper into it. Like, let's you and me spoke about this in Discord. Let's get this to foregrips, to buttstocks. Let's get this to, gun barrels and all this stuff. Let's see a bunch more scopes, a bunch more lights. Let's break these ships and these guns down to more than just battlefield attachments where it's like sights, compensator, foregrip, and that's it. Buttstock, it's like let's get this down to 20 slots. Let's really make
I don't think
this,
that's
and then
ever happening,
tie crafting
sadly.
into it. Yeah,
I don't think
there's
that's
probably
ever
a middle
happening.
ground there, but I'd like it to be more than what we've got.
Me too.
Like
it's this
it feels
bullshit
arcadey
art
with only 4.
Yeah, it's this bullshit art over gameplay thing that has happened for all these years, and now it's getting in the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, how cool would it be to have some more depth to your gun? There's just nothing you could do. There's nothing. What are they going to rework every single gun? Hopefully, maybe that's why we don't see the pyro guns yet. Maybe they're more customizable. That would be amazing. Because if there was one thing in 4.0 that I was expecting to see, and Jared, I hate you for this because that was the best ISC of the entire year, were those pyro guns. When 4.0 came out, I was expecting to be shooting nail nails out of my like fake tractor beam gun at people, like we were seeing there, and we just never got them. So maybe that's the idea.
I'd
There is
love
they're going to be more customizable.
a little more depth with like the stims too. Like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
dude, like, oh my gosh, like, have some stims that help with carrying weight. Some stims that help with your stamina, um, stims that help you outlast injury and stuff like that. Like, yeah, just add like depth to it. I really, a lot of people were complaining about the skill system too. Like, that's gonna tie into all of this.
mm-hmm,
Like, I just want depth. Like the key word being depth, like
yep,
just more of this. And yeah, to tie back to your original question, yeah, like barters would be just awesome. Multiple reasons to go into a PvE bunker, for example, like
yep,
Siege of Orison, for example, like not just PvP zones, but because that's what it is. The bartering system, let's be clear, the rewards can be used for PvP, but it's PvE content.
yeah.
That's PvE.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're going against the
completely.
AI, and you're playing within the
Yeah,
game systems and not the sandbox of killing players to get the stuff. I mean, they may have looted those things, but they interacted
yeah.
with the game systems first, right? Like,
Yep,
I still think it's insane that you go to like a random outpost, like a mining outpost, and you just go and loot their shit and steal it. Like,
yep.
and in a game like Skyrim, they know you're stealing their stuff. But in a game like Star Citizen, they don't. But yeah, like for bunkers and stuff, yeah, I mean that's really what I want to see. I want to see. I think this might be, hurting some people's feelings or rubbing them the wrong way. I love farming in games, not actually like farming, like farm sim necessarily, but going to a location that I know, like let's say for example, it is there's a deal that you and I have, and I want to talk about this a little bit.
Sure.
Is there's certain good armors that you can buy at the contested zones, and everyone is using them. You decided to say we want for our org, we want a
Yep.
uniform, and that uniform
Yep.
is what?
It's the Xeno armor. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
there's an FPS meta, which is like you get the heavy arms, you get the heavy chest, you get the
Yep.
light legs, so you've got good weight and stuff. That's just every Star Marine player knows that and stuff like
Yep.
that. And we're just trying to um yeah, move away from everybody wearing the same armor that they bought from the vendor that's
Yep.
standing just outside the contested zone, and instead use this opportunity to get some really cool armor that's also rare, and employ you guys to do it for us, like,
Yeah.
because you're looking for reasons for logistics to exist. We're looking for loot or equipment that could be provided for logistics, so it just seemed like a good reason for us to both flex that relationship, right? Like, give you guys an opportunity, give us an opportunity, and see what this would look like in the soon future. Because I would say as early as 6 months, we're going to actually be starting to do this kind of stuff, like where you're actually going to need to be providing missiles, for example. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
imagine they're pretty gun ho on making sure that you can't reload missiles when you repair. So someone's going to be needing to hold missiles, and that's just the beginning of it. We
Yep.
still got, that they're going to do the same treatment to ship components and stuff like that. That's inevitable. So you're going to be all over logistics, and it's cool. It's the first time you and me have needed to, like,
Work together.
yeah, like me, for people who don't know, me and Mike, okay, he plays it off all cool, like this game's a scam, rah, rah, rah. But in our Discord, he is in Imagine Land, all right, with me, all right. I hope you all know, especially you clowns.
I do it on
But
stream all the time. They just they only hold on to the like I can't reload my gun, or I can't do this or
I'm
that
throwing
thing.
med pens.
Yeah, I'm throwing med pens instead of changing my weapon. Like they know. They know I'm starting to feel the things happening, and it feels good.
It just, yeah, it feels legitimate. Yeah, it feels like we're finally, this is an actual real reason. We're not just role playing it. We actually want the armor, like
Yeah.
legitimately. If it wasn't you providing it, we'd be trying to get it off someone else.
Yeah.
And you guys have an order that you want to fulfill, and you guys want to do that as a loop, and it's working out, and it's actually happening thanks to the
Yep.
game,
Yeah.
because it took losing FPS kits to require this logistics effort.
Yep.
It took the contested zones being compelling enough to require the armor. So yeah, it's starting to connect, and it's awesome, man. It's like, how long have you and me, dude, and we don't give these guys enough credit. How long have you and me been wishing things that have come in 4.0 would come? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Forever.
even the stuff they announced at SitCon, like, we're like, oh man, how cool would it be if they had high security, low security, null security? How cool would it be if we had stations and we could
Yep.
open up shops and be merchants and stuff like that? And we got everything we've been talking about. They've all mentioned is the intention, and then they're giving us this stuff too. It's so good, man. And then that tied on to all the hard work the server meshing guys, 500 player servers. How the
600.
heck? How the hell are we here, dude? That
Yeah.
was supposed to be a scam.
Right.
Like, and we're playing on 500 servers, and that's become normal. Like, it's crazy, man. It's exciting times, really exciting times, and they've done a wicked, wicked job. And I think ultimately, we were talking about this, I think, last night. Like, is this rich, or is this just rich inheriting near the finishing line? I don't know, but
Yeah. Like I
whatever
said,
direction we're going in,
I said this.
awesome,
I
man.
don't know how fair it is for people to be like, Rich Tyrer is our savior and all these things. And
Hmm.
um I don't know. I got to meet Todd Pappy personally, and he was just like a really cool guy. And I don't know what we don't know what's happened, but the whole Rich era thing, I think is maybe a little bit unfair to somebody like that. But I don't know if I'm just thought he was a nice guy and don't want to be mean to him or something like that. But the idea here is is coming in going, it's the Rich era now, and like putting his arms out and being like, I'm your savior. Yet server meshing
The Tony
is
Stark
in.
gif.
Yeah, exactly. Yet server meshing is in the game. So
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to be like, oh, things are going to get better now, and I'm here to save you, when the thing that has been blocking the game for literally 5-6 years, maybe more, is kind of done. And it's not really fair to be like, I'm the one that made these things go faster, when it's the
It's funny
people
though,
who put
like,
server meshing in the game are the reason things are going faster in
oh
reality, right?
yeah, no, a
It's
lot of it's
everybody,
Benoit and the
but
team, right?
yeah, it's
Benoit, the team's
everybody.
killing it. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is
And I
everybody.
don't want people
But
to
like,
like
what?
put Rich on this pedestal that maybe he deserves, but maybe doesn't deserve as much as people are putting there. Like,
I'll,
it's kind of crazy, I
I
think, how
will
people are acting.
I'll slightly counter that with like what Data Stream is saying in the chat, which is richer is what the CIG
Yeah, that
devs
was
were calling
Zach.
it.
Zach did
They
this.
Dude, yeah, Zach's doing that in my Discord too.
Yeah.
Like, and so is like some of the other guys. And to be fair, like, yeah, like they're saying that publicly and everything, so there's nothing weird about that.
Maybe they
But
just think it's a
yeah,
better
man,
working
like,
environment then. Like, maybe it's just
yeah,
a more internal thing
yeah.
than it is an external thing for us. Who knows?
And I tell you what, the big one I want to hit on though is that, like, I love the direction, man. I
Yeah.
love the direction. I think the PVE players that are upset right now, like, understand you're getting what you want to. It's just a little down the
You just
line.
didn't get it
They
in
had
this
to.
patch
Exactly, exactly. But
necessarily.
you're gonna be happy. You're gonna have your instanced content. Like, Stanton is gonna be more and more discouraged with reputation. You've got a whole system dedicated to high security you haven't seen yet, which is gonna be, I imagine, so PvP restrictive. And I tell you what, Mike, to loop back onto an ATC we spoke about, I wouldn't even care if PvP was almost 99% impossible in that location now. Like, we've been
Whoa, I
so
fought you
spoiled.
on this so much for so
We've
long.
been so spoiled. Yeah, but here's the thing, man. I didn't think that we were gonna get base rating and
Yeah, yeah,
stations
yeah,
that can craft Bengals. Like,
yeah,
you've given me everything I want out here.
yeah.
Like, if the PVE players want to, be, I wouldn't say 100%, but almost, in high security, then so be it. Like, because by gosh, we're getting what we want. out in the null security systems, we are more than satisfied over here.
I just
So,
hope they do something similar to what they do in Eve with the idea of um like Velspar, which is the lowest, like the easiest ore to mine, but is in huge quantities in like all crafting um blueprints and stuff. So like what you would craft
mhm,
with is Velspar, and you can't get it that easily in the plate. Like you couldn't get it in Pyro. So for example, you wouldn't find as much let's say I think carbon's probably a bad example, but let's say maybe iron or uh titanium in a place like Pyro, and you would find a lot
mhm.
of it in a place like Stanton or in a place like Terra, and it would be low value stuff, but it would be stuff that is needed in super high quantities out in out somewhere else. Because I find that to be very interesting, that it's like, all right, I need to I need to either mine here or I need to buy it and bring it in if I'm going to be crafting. And I find that to be interesting. I don't know if it's a good thing. I see somebody in chat saying it's like the worst thing ever. So I think it's kind of cool, because I always like the idea of the the player who's risk adverse being able to interact in a way with the players who are, and they need each other. Like you're running
Oh
content,
yeah, I love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you're looting ships of the kills that you got. You're running content that may have industrial components in it. You're running content that are things that they need, and then they're running content that are things that you need. And then now, if from what we hear is the idea um of being able to have like your own marketplace or something like that, where you're, you know, you might just send a few of your guys out to go buy a bunch of ore from me, even though I'm, you know, just flying around Yella and selling still for the rest of my life, right? But
Yeah,
we're
and it
engaging
goes
with
both
each other
ways,
in different
right? Yeah.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah, like PvP is bringing over, stuff to, trade with the higher security systems, and then the
Because
other
you got to
way
pay for
too,
your
right? Like,
repairs.
yeah, yeah, like both ways. I think
Yeah.
that's great. And I think like you said, I don't think it needs to be entirely exclusive. Like maybe some things do and some things don't.
Yeah.
But I'm
Even Velspar
happy,
isn't exclusive, or Tritanium isn't exclusive. Like you can
yeah.
get that
Yep.
in Nullsec too, and in Eve, just in
Yeah.
much lower
Yeah.
quantities. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it, right? Yeah, just scale it to the risk,
Yep.
right? Like if the PvE is insanely difficult, and to get, this mineral, you have to go into a vandal system with the cranked up difficulty, then by all means make that,
Yep.
super, super valuable, for the PvE plays. As long as it scales to risk and difficulty, no problem with who gets what. Like all good.
Exactly.
All good.
Exactly. Because
We
we're
just
going to be
don't
able
want
to
them to get
buy
it
them from each other.
easy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
The easy thing should be the least valuable, and
Exactly.
you can get them in bulk, and you could sell them in bulk, and you'll be able to make your money doing it. Like when I
Yep.
first started playing Eve, I was totally fine mining in high sec in a venture, which is the smallest little tiniest thing, and just doing it all day and making 2 million a day if I was lucky, right? And
Yep.
now I'm trying to make 20, 30, 40, 100 million a day, right? And that's it's just the progression of the game, and where I want to go. But there's plenty of people who don't want to do that, right? They want to do other things, and that's fine. So it just comes down to, I love where we're going,
Hmm.
and where we're going seems to be players can do their thing,
Yep.
and they don't have to interact with each other if they don't want to. Like you do not
Yep.
need to go to Pyro to sell your RMC at the best possible price. You can go to Stanton and do it,
Yep.
right? You
Yep.
can do it. You're not going to get the best possible price, but you'll get a slightly less than best possible price, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
be all
And
right.
you don't have to have it all. Yeah. Like yeah. Like
Yeah.
no one gets all of it. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but it's good. Like you definitely feel like we're absolutely on the right path with all of this.
Yes. I do. I
Yeah, me
feel
too.
it feels like they're going on the right path, but I also have the PTSD of how are they going to fuck this up? Because they fucked it up every other time, right? And
Hmm.
because we're not done with the engineering, because we're not done with the crafting, because there's still plenty of opportunity for this to just fall flat on its face and them to just pay to win it or do some stupid shit.
I think the big yeah, the pay to win stuff. I
That
think the biggest risk was always the tech. And
yeah,
that's what shocked me the most about the last like 2 months is like the 500 servers worked out, right? Like,
yeah,
and minus there's a whole lot of polish and a whole lot to get changed, but
yeah.
like
The biggest issue
the
now
tech is now possible.
Biggest
So
issue now, a little bit of interaction delay that's not happening all the time. It's happening on some servers, not others. So hopefully they'll be able
mhm,
to see the difference between the
yep.
two and find the problem. And then the one
And
that's
I'm
driving
confident
me
they will. Yeah.
absolutely mad is when I kill somebody in a contested zone that I can't loot their bag. Oh my God. We've talked about Tarkov. We've talked about Eve. I cannot loot people, and it drives me up a wall. All I want to do is get my sticky little fingers on that body that I killed, or a body that somebody else killed and left there. And I just want to take everything, because we talked about everything mattering. I just want to take it all, and I just want to grab it, and I want to hoard it, and I want to sell it, and I want to do. And it's so annoying that I can't do that right now. So if there's one bug I want them to fix, it's that. Want to know something else? When I trade you all these armors, I can't put them in a box because it's the same bug with a box. I have to send you 100 legs, then 100 arms, then 100 chests.
So we're gonna have to grav tool this for like hours.
No, 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 no. It's super easy. I
Uh,
send them up a freight
oh, okay.
elevator. You send them down a freight elevator. That's it.
Oh, okay, then no, easy, easy. Yeah.
But it's
But you can't
individual.
trade
Yeah,
the yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
heard about that
I
not being
can't
a
put them in a
thing. So
box. So
mhm.
you can
Yeah,
put them
fair
in a
enough.
box once you have them. It's your own box you could see. You can't see inside my own box. So it's like,
Yeah.
you don't want to lose your keys in contested zones. Put them in a backpack because no one's going to grab them. Do you know what we started doing to people? We started taking the backpacks off their body and tractor beaming them and hiding them behind shit. So when they go back to their body, they can't get that stuff back.
Do you think you should be able, and I don't feel any sort of way about this. Do you think you should be able to do trades like this, player to player, different org to different org in the safety of a hangar instanced?
Yeah, of course. I
Okay,
believe
fair.
I believe that once you make it to a hangar, once you make it to an outpost, once you make
Okay.
it to a
Oh,
station, you should be under complete safety and able to move the boxes, do your trades, do that stuff. But the moment you
yep.
leave the hangar, and like I believe there should be hangars at every single outpost in Star Citizen. Like the open
Yeah, fair
pads that you're
enough.
sitting out there, people ram. It just opens up the stupidest shit that is just unfun. For the only thing it's fun for are people being assholes. There's no fun for anyone else except for the people being an idiot, right? Like I came out of
Yeah, fair enough.
the RMC battle that we had the other day. Some jerk off rammed my ship in the sky, right? Because he couldn't
Yeah,
get on the panel, and that was his recourse. It's stupid. So
yeah.
I hate the idea of that. I think if you're,
No,
taking the
that's fair.
goods in
That's
and out of
fair.
your ship, you're in safety. But the moment that
Mhm.
hangar opens, you're not. And then that's the balance there, is that you're able to get attacked. You're just not able to get attacked while you're outside of your ship moving boxes, because there's just too much opportunity for stupid shit. Like my freight elevator door opens and you come by with a tractor beam and just take it, and I have no recourse against you. It's just the dumbest ideas there. It just makes no
I know
sense
a
to me.
guy. I know a guy. Carbon Tales Q who he
Yep.
flew like all of his gear. I don't know if you heard about this. Flew all of
No.
his gear to Pyro, lands in his hangar, and someone else is in his hangar. They kill him in his hangar, and then just send his stuff down the elevator. All of his stuff gone.
That I mean
And
that
I told him,
that's like
I
a
said, like,
bug.
how did this guy even get into your hangar?
Yeah,
Like, what is this?
that's a
Like,
bug.
and the worst, yeah, yeah. And like, well, I thought him, I was like, maybe this is like cheating or something because I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, and because of that mechanic, he was a bit stuff. But yeah, to clarify, I don't care left or right. I agree. There's plenty of vulnerability windows obtaining the stuff itself rather than ganking it at the selling point. So no, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, it's just boring. Like even in a game like DayZ, they have safe zones for the traders and stuff like that, which is like, a
Sure.
pure PvP game. It's cuz it's just not fun. for people to experience these things, right? You get out
Yeah.
of raid in Tarkov and you are free to trade with players on the flea
Yeah, it's
market, right?
true.
Like
It's
these
true.
games that are purely PvP and are, you know, widely loved games by PvP players are pretending like this idea is just totally can't happen in Star Citizen's fucking stupid.
Yep.
So,
And we're
yeah.
already playing a game that you have to do bathroom breaks in games. So
Yeah,
yeah, like
you know, you're quantum
yeah,
traveling for 30 minutes. Like, give me a break here, right?
yeah,
The
yeah,
the
yeah,
risks are there, right? And the
yeah,
risks are losing tons of time and things like that.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
it's getting super late for you, I imagine. So we probably want to get close to ending here. We have 2 people in the call list. Do you want to take a couple calls and see what happens? See what they want to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah. Let's go for it.
real quick. All right, so first caller
I'm good on time, by
is
the way.
all right, cool. First caller is Rakidos. I'm both of these names I'm going to be terrible at, so just deal with it, people. I'm not good with this stuff. So Rakidos, can you hear us? Hello. Going once, going twice. He's been in here since before the
Bro,
podcast
he's been here
started.
before we got in here.
Yeah. And he's going to miss it. So I'm going to put him back and then we'll grab the other guy. And hopefully he'll wake up to the fact that we're going to callers. So this one, Annie Ander. I'm never gonna be able to say the name right, but Annie Ander, you're coming in, all right? Annie Ander, can you hear us?
Yeah, hello guys.
Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
Good. What do you want to talk about?
The problem I have is you mostly talked about everything I have on my list because I really wanted to talk about the Tarkov comparisons you made.
Well, I'm sure there's others.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to start at the idea of when I started playing Star Citizen, most of the people talked about Star Citizen as a PvE game. And I
Yep.
don't get where this idea is coming from because when I saw Star Citizen for the first time, I haven't even played Tarkov or Rust or anything. And I always thought Star Citizen is a PvP, VP versus E game and not just a PvE game. It's everything.
Yeah.
Like the idea was always to be everything. Like where was this idea coming from?
I think it was that early it was that one dumb video, like where he did there will be private servers, right? And
Yeah.
then that soft PvP slider, which is where the matchmaking will sort you away from the PvP if you're not interested in it.
Yeah.
And then we kind of just didn't hear anything about it for
Because it was
years
stupid.
afterwards.
Because they put this guy who, like, just was saying anything anybody wanted to hear. So, you know, they bought more spaceships. And now that they're actually making the game, people are getting pissed off, right? So there are moments when Chris talked that you could say it's a PvP game, and there's moments where Chris talked that you could say it's a PvE game, and both sides hold on to those conversations and use them against each other, when in reality, they're ignoring the fact that he was just being an absolute clown and saying whatever at any time, which is why he never talks on camera anymore, because he just
He says
can't
everything
help
he wants to.
himself. Yeah, he just can't help himself.
And
He
it
wants
can-
his game to be the everything, and it can't be. You got to make decisions.
And it can be both, right? Like it can be both without having to sell two
Separate.
different games. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just slowly over time encourage the separation of those like gameplay loops with content to satisfy each side of that coin in different
Yeah.
corners of the game.
Well,
And
not
then
separating them too
we're
much,
happy.
right? The decisions
Yeah,
that
yeah.
and the choices that are made in Stanton could and should
Yeah.
affect the ones that are made in Pyro.
Like
Yep,
I don't
yep.
I don't get the thing because everybody like the PvE players are expecting everything to be available to them at all times. Like I don't care about cargo people getting an update because I don't play cargo. I don't care about any people, any gameplay loop getting an update because I just want to play like my small part of mining and sometimes PvP. And should I be like annoyed by updates for other gameplay loops? Hell no. I'm happy for everybody getting anything to play. Like I don't get why they are like really annoyed by 4.0 coming out. We were doing cargo runs for the first time in our org with 4.0, and most of the people I play with don't like PvP actually. So they was annoyed by Pyro at the first time. But when we started doing the cargo runs, we haven't had any PvP encounters at all. So like even PvE players can just enjoy Pyro for Red Stanton, I would say.
Yeah.
Even without getting any encounters.
Yeah, and I had the opposite. Like I wanted my org to do more mining, salvage, and logistics stuff, and I can't get them out of the contested zones, man. Every night there's like 5-10 of them just running contested zones.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go now. Just cut me off when I'm taking too much time because I have so many ideas.
Okay.
Also, the same thought I had about the PvE players is when I talked with my group about Eve, because shortly after I started playing Star Citizen, I tried Eve, and I saw so many similarities between those two games.
Yeah.
And all the time I got said, "Holy shit! How can you compare Star Citizen to Eve? They are not even remotely the same game." And I was like, "Wait." Those are trying to be the same game.
Yeah, anyone who says that doesn't play either or doesn't play both.
Yeah, I don't get it.
The comparisons are way too close. Will they play like will Star Citizen play out like Eve? No, nobody's saying that, but there are so many. Star Citizen is very inspired by it. It's impossible to ignore, right?
Yeah,
Dude, I used to get roasted.
I used to roast
of like every one of my YouTube videos.
I used to
like,
roast you.
You're not getting Eve. You're not getting Eve. You're not getting Eve. And then it's sick.
And then I played it.
Yeah, and you loved it, right? Yeah. So
I love certain aspects of it. I should say, not all of it.
Yeah, I think people will come to realize that when you're talking about Eve, when most people are talking about Eve, they're not talking about the horrible things. They're talking about all the good things about it, right? Like it's not the horrible rumors you've heard of. It's the depth of the game. It's the economy and stuff like that. Just the cool aspects of it. So
yeah. The thing is like I have one hot take for the end, but you talked about the executive hangars where you wanted to have a ship-on-ship fights. We didn't have that at the executive hangars, but at the Astro stations where you get the keycards from. We had people camping outside of them in their ships for their orcs, not like camping, just fighting, waiting for other players to come and trying to kill us. So we had ship-on-ship combat there, and I hope everybody gets it because it was really fun when there were like 2 or 3 like arrows outside waiting for people to kill them. Yeah. And to close my my time, I have a big hot take. I hope Star Citizen becomes Space Rust in a way of sorts. I know.
You should check the comments after this video goes on YouTube, dude. After
they're gonna hate me. Yeah, they're gonna hate me.
You're gonna get shit on.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. When I started
Space
playing,
Rust, guys, that wasn't me. That wasn't Virgil, by the way. I did not say that. It's the German guy. It's the German guy.
Hold on. Let's hold. Like I've seen a clip where some streamer said some hot take, and the people that he was with in the room just all left, so they wouldn't be in the clip that goes on live stream fails. We should just walk away and let him talk.
What's Space Rust?
Yeah. I have like a hyper focus on some games. When I started with Star Citizen, it was Star Citizen with Rust, and with Tarkov, and like. With contested zones, I'm getting the vibe from Tarkov right now, and I hope with base building, it's Rust. So I hope it becomes Space Rust Tarkov.
I don't think anybody wants Rust base building in this game. Besides,
no, I can totally understand that.
Yeah, because of the fact that Rust wipes last a week.
Oh no, please don't. No,
we want Fortnite with grab tools.
How long do Rust wipes last? Like a week?
It depends. Like they're like really fast servers with like 3 days and but like a long-term Rust would be nice. But
yeah, so you would have to explain what that means a little bit, I think, because people are just gonna roast you because an MMO and Rust aren't the same thing.
Yeah, I can totally understand. Like I think there should be like zones, like planets where like wait. When I think
There you
about
go.
this, I have to explain a little bit further because Rust is a really fast-paced game with
Yeah.
like a weekly wipe.
Mhm.
I could imagine like there being planets with like natural storms, natural disasters, and so on, where something like this would be possible. Like high-value resources, like way too much of them. So you have to build a base there, try to defend it against other orcs, and then natural disasters happens and the base and everything gets wiped. But you still have everything after that. You earned like the minerals and so on.
Didn't they wait a minute, Mike? Didn't they I remember you mentioned something about this, like resources aren't gonna respawn or something along those
Oh, okay.
lines.
So for like Pyro, we know is going to have the highest quality stuff, and quality is going to matter because you get the most stats out of the quality stuff, right? So say
Yep.
I'm in a prospector flying around Bloom and I find the highest quality fuck, it doesn't matter, just name a commodity, right? And I place my little base down there and I'm extracting it, and I've extracted everything. That exact node is going to, at least the amount that's there, I think, will respawn. But it will most likely, like, 99% of the time, not respawn under my base.
So you will have to relocate, yeah. So there
Yeah,
won't be, a magic cyclone that comes to take your base away. You're just gonna want to pack up your bags and move to the
exactly.
next
That's why,
location.
like I said,
Yeah.
Pyro is going to be very nomadic. Now, I
Yeah.
also want to roast somebody in the Twitch chat here. They go, and this doesn't make sense lore wise. Lore, you cannot play lore. This is so stupid. It doesn't matter. It's about making an enjoyable video game that makes sense and is balanced to the video game. So say for example, I place my base down on a moon, and 10 years from now I have the entire moon has been wiped of all its minerals. So what do we just stop playing? Like, lore is the least important thing as far as those type of things go. Like, lore can be cool, but that is just not something that matters when it comes to this stuff. You have to make decisions um, that like that. Like, yeah, I just don't like that idea. It's just dumb. And yeah, so that's what would happen is you would pack up your base and go somewhere else. But
Mhm.
yeah,
It's funny though, like when you compared that to Eve, that's like the last thing I would do. Sorry, Rust. That's the last way I would explain Rust. It's like when you said you want Rust, you meant you wanted like resource locations. Hell yeah, but I don't think you needed to use Rust as the example there.
Like
yeah,
resource locations where you want to fight over way more. Like at the moment I imagine Star Citizen with base building, like you put down your base, you have like some form of safety with the shield generators and so on if you fight it over them or something like that. But like a more fast pace base fighting. Like when I thought about when I play Rust, we have like start of vibe, and after 2 days or something, or 3 days or something, people come over and want to raid our base, something like that, because we have the best position on the map for something like big or small Auric, like big point of interest. But something like this in Star Citizen, and I could imagine being it like resource things, like a big node of Containium or something we need for ship travel or something.
I
yeah.
guess the time frame we'd be looking at is weekly, right? Like,
Yeah.
because
Well, you
they
have the
mentioned that
weekly
the shield
shield
tech's
thing.
weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the cycle of bringing a base to life and possibly undoing a base would be roughly a week.
Yep.
Yeah, like so.
Because there's
I
no
guess
way
that's the
if your
time frame
shield
you're
comes
looking at.
down. Yeah, there's no way if your shield comes down, you're going to be leaving those components there. There's no
But we
way
don't.
you're going to do
Sorry,
that.
keep going.
Yeah, like
Yeah, and to clarify,
unless you're able to just
go ahead.
farm and you're on a dead server or something like what I fear is that Aussie servers that are like, less populated than others, like the same org is just going to be able to have the shield the entire time. But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I thought more about like referring to a Twitch commenter people would steal your container you mind rather than your spot, most likely. That's also what happens in Rust, because they just open up your base as much as they need to get to your loot room. And I thought something along the lines like that, because nobody's gonna destroy your whole base and then take up your spot. They wait for you to get everything they need and then tries to kill you as much as they want, and then they try to steal your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they
And
can't
that's a
do
little
that
bit more fast
instanton,
pace.
which is beautiful.
One thing
No,
I
no, no, not
wouldn't want
instant.
though is like Rust's like building pace. You know, like and think I for sure we're not getting that just based off the description of the Pioneer.
Sure.
But you don't want like bases getting built at the same speed that they can get destroyed in, right? Like you don't want mid-combat base building where it's like, okay, we're dropping a wall. Okay, we're gonna drop another wall to keep slowing them down. Like you wouldn't want it like that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, no, fair enough. Good stuff. Good stuff, man.
Yeah. So I guess we'll
Sorry
let you
for
go
taking
there.
up so long.
No,
Yep.
you're good. We hopefully let Rockados know that it's time.
Just for anyone that wants to know, yeah, the guy who wants Space Rust is ANEINANDER.
Not
Yeah.
us.
No.
Not
Yeah,
us.
not
it's
Salty
me,
Mike, not
me.
Virgil, not associated with
No.
us at all.
Yep. At him, not us. All right.
Yeah, at me. It's okay.
Later,
Used.
dude.
Okay.
Bye
Bye-bye.
GG's, brother.
Bye now. All right. So that was that. We're gonna try to bring in Rockados again, who's still muted. So one more chance, Rockados. You there? Hello.
Testing,
He is
testing.
there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Hey.
Welcome.
So, as I wasn't there for the engineering tests back when they were being run,
Yeah.
but I'd be interested in your thoughts on how PvP with a multi-crew once engineering's in the game.
Dude, it was
Whether
awesome.
like something like a Vanguard could be a competitive, could be a PvP staple with multi-crew or
Could
something.
it be?
I don't know. Like, yeah, like the idea of, I don't know, man. That's actually a really good question. You got me stumped. Because are you really going to have 3 people on a Vanguard?
The problem
Yeah,
is too is like I just wish you used anything but a Vanguard here because it's only got 2 size 2s on a turret, so it's like the guys in a like a little baby seat on the top turret. So like any other ship, and I'd be like, yeah, but I just have a hard time with the Vanguard specifically because the turret's so minimal.
And
So
presumably they could buff the Vanguard in some regards. If I said something like the Cutlass.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Or like the Redeemer or something. Yeah. Like I have major question marks with engineering. I'm sure Mike does too.
You
like,
got to use
how
an
are
extra
they,
guy.
yeah.
Minimum
yeah.
one.
And then how do they make a ship powerful for doing so? You know, because it's like if it requires an extra guy, then why not bring another ship? So it has to outweigh just bringing another ship, which means does
Yep.
every ship that requires engineering get buffed by a magnitude of 2 at least? You know, like
And it can't even
minimum.
be quite that simple because my standard comparison is 3 Tauruses versus 4 people in a Andromeda.
Yeah. It's funny because I asked this video on I asked this on an SCL one time. It would have been a couple years ago. I was like, how are
They
you going to
answered, I
justify
think.
multi-crew? And yeah, and they told me that like just because a ship requires a crew doesn't mean it's a force multiplier to equal the size of the crew. Well, I don't know how else they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, their argument has
if-
always been this maybe one that's starting to make sense is your 100K repair bill.
yeah,
is
maybe the
you will
economy
have
is so
500K in
brutal that
repair-
you want to do it. Yeah, dude.
You'll have 500K in repair bills on your
Yeah,
5
could be it.
Hornets, but your 100K on just your 1 Redeemer is
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
what
and
they
I'd be for that.
described. I don't know if that's good though or fun or whatever because you're still gonna lose the fight and you're gonna lose the fight in the Redeemer, right? So it's still about winning.
It's just at the end of the day, it's going to be so hard to convince people to not pilot their own ships. Like that is going to be such an uphill battle, and
Not
it
for
has to
me.
be extremely.
I want to do anything but fly.
You're a unique case.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it needs to be extremely compelling and convincing to multi-crew ships, and yeah, I hope that what it is just insane power. So to answer your question, I hope that engineering makes the task difficult, but then the reward, the payoff for doing multi-crew is way higher than it is.
Yeah.
Like a hammerhead should be a boss fight, like in my eyes. Like, and same for larger capitals.
And
Have
just
to
to be
tie that into the economy, but yeah.
Yeah, and just to be clear on the engineering test side, they were very early and they were gathering kind of vibes and feel of it, but it was not good experiences necessarily in the test. So you're competing in an arena commander lobby that is you're going, all right, how many people am I going to put on turrets versus how many people am I going to have running around like ants trying to repair everything? And it was just chaotic and I would say anti-fun in a lot of ways, and it was too quick. Like basically two C2s were taking each other out or I guess they were A2s in those tests. They were taking each other out within 30 to 40 seconds, right? It was just like a weird,
like that won't cut it, will it?
Yeah, it was just a weird experience that just didn't feel right. And I think they got the vibes for what was good and what was bad, but that was never meant to be the final experience at all. So it's hard to take those tests and go, yeah, like that's what they're going for. There's no shot that's what they were going for. But like throughout that test, it was, all right, well, ballistics go through the armor and so do lasers. And then they were trying to like dial that in, like what's good there, what do we want to get away from, what do we want to keep. So it was more just kind of coming up with what might feel fun and then dial in the values and make it fun later. And I think that's sort of what we're gonna see in the next evolution of it, where I think if I'm making a bet for early this year, it's going to be a test preview of engineering gameplay, like armor and penetration and shit like that.
Engineering's like massive because that has to cover all the ships too. Then it's going to be like a whole rebalance. Like
I hate the fuses though. Because
it's
you're dealing with repairing.
Engineering. Do you have to deal with fuses?
Yeah,
I hate fuses, bro.
You're dealing, and think about like putting fuses into a door right now in the contested zones. Imagine if you had to fix a fuse with a tractor beam inside of a ship while your character's getting force reacted. Oh my god!
The fuse that keeps dropping to the ground every time you pull it out. Oh no,
it's
dude!
Just like, no way. This will be horrible. But
I'll be trying to jam a med pen into the socket.
Yeah, it's not. It was too chaotic, and there wasn't just enough time to communicate to each other that this was going on. All right, let's do this and let's do that. And like
if engineering's gonna work, the TTK's got to go way higher, right? Like it's gotta. And as a PvPer, slow this down tenfold.
As a PvPer, remember when TTK was too high and you guys hated it?
Yeah.
So there's
with a transport pilot being ganked, if he puts out a distress call and then drops the pilot controls and just does engineering, would that be enough for him to hold out for reinforcements to?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
That's the problem too, right? Yeah, it's going to change everything. Like it'll be massive ripple effects to all of it, and it's really hard to even imagine. Which is why I think like we're so far out. Like that and base building, it's like huge tasks. And
even if we get them soon, they're not going to feel good at the beginning. I don't think.
No way. Yeah, no way. Yeah. And it's and the biggest thing too is like they have to find a way to make this a lot of fun. Like that's going to be crazy too.
Exactly.
Like, how are we going to squeeze dopamine out of this? So
yep. You got anything else, Ragados?
Cool.
That's it.
Okay.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for waiting the whole time.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. All right, we'll talk to you soon, dude.
Bye,
easy, brother.
Bye. All right, I think that's where we'll leave it. I know Blaze is in the green room, but we said we would take like 2, so it's getting pretty late. and all that, so we'll let you go.
Good.
But I want to
Hey,
appreciate it.
so
We
much
never
fun.
we never got to your video, so I'm gonna go ahead and post the link in the Twitch chat and post the link in the YouTube chat. So this is Virgil's most recent video about the PvP ship tier list and like why he likes certain ships versus why he doesn't like others. Let me get it in the YouTube chat. Where is that? There it is. So there's that. Excuse me. That sneeze came out of nowhere. I apologize. But that's that was a video I really enjoyed. I watched quite a bit of it last night, and it was fun to hear your perspective on why certain ships were good and why others weren't and things like that. It bothers me still that the Fury and that the M50 are still pretty high up there because I just like, why are those ships so powerful? Maybe the Fury, if it was power in numbers, that would make more sense. But it's just goofy the way things are. But yeah, check that video out if you guys haven't yet. But in case you haven't seen the thumbnail, the Hornet F7A Mark II, one of the most pay-to-win ships I've seen in this game, is still at the top, which is sad. Very sad.
Yep.
But
either way, this was fun. Yeah,
man.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself.
Me too, and I'll enjoy getting you a bunch of armors, and hopefully we'll run CZs together and not run into an insane amount of problems.
Yeah, we gotta play. We gotta play. At one night, you and me just gotta get some kits and run it down on Ruin. I think
I'm down. I'll wake up early and hop on your stream one day at like 4 a.m. or something like that, and I'll play.
All right, sounds good.
All right, bro.
All right, guys, thanks. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. That is it for Answer the Call, everybody. I will do the outro because I know, Virgil, you won't put yourself in this much cringe to do this. Guys, hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. Check out Virgil if you guys haven't yet. And don't forget.
Go 1, 2, 3 in the comment section.
Don't forget to answer the call, everyone.
Yeah. Ring, ring.
Ring, ring.